I'm not going to mince words here. I'm just going to get right to it. The so-called tournament for the now vacated WWE Women's Tag Team Championship has now been scrapped. So basically, these titles are going to be vacated indefinitely. They would have been better off just going ahead and saying, we don't care about these titles. These titles are now deactivated. Plus, the so-called tournament, if you believe David Meltzer, was going to be basically a four-way between four women's tag teams, none of which anyone gives a crap about. It was supposed to be Tamina and Dana Brooke versus Natalya and Shayna Baszler versus Queen Zelina and Carmella versus, who was the final team? Oh, Doudrop and Nikki ASH, or Nikki Cross as I prefer to call her, which tells you right there, the fact that I had to think about it for a second shows how no one gives a crap about them. In fact, when it comes to the Women's Tag Team Championship, the only time anyone cared about those belts is when the original champions, Sasha Banks and Bayley, had them. In fact, they were the ones that pushed for women's tag team titles in the first place. This is a picture in them, all their glory during their golden role model days, and to give credit where credit is due, when Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross had them, people actually paid attention to the titles. Beyond these two tag teams, and of course Sasha Banks' last team with Naomi, beyond that, no one cared about those belts. Beyond those two tag teams, nobody cared. As a matter of fact, WWE really doesn't, at least that's the impression I get. They don't care about the women's division in general, and even less about the tag team division. And for those guys who want to say, oh, they need to bring back the Divas, the bra and panties match, first of all, they're not going to do that. Not in this era. And second of all, even in that era, they only cared about maybe a couple of women, and that's it. So WWE has never really cared about women's divas or women's wrestling at the time. Or women's wrestling of now, I should say. And in all honesty, these belts are just a waste. I would just assume, don't be surprised if they don't do anything, and I just assume them get rid of them. Anyway, I just wanted to bring you that little report on what they're doing right now. Tournament dead, I'm out.